probably one of the greatest superhero films ever made. That's what James Gunn had to say about The Flash. James Gunn, the director who brought us the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, the co-head of DC Studios, one of my favorite directors, said this about The Flash. Now, to say a superhero movie nowadays is one of the greatest ever made is to put it in the category of Infinity War, of The Dark Knight, and so many others. That's some high praise, especially for a movie with so many behind-the-scenes problems. I mean, this movie was announced back in 2014, I believe. It's 2023 now. That's 9 years to make this. Even though the trailers didn't look that great, I knew all the stuff behind the scenes, but as I entered the theater, I kept that quote in the back of my mind and thinking, hey, if one of my favorite directors loves this movie, says it's one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, then maybe it's actually good. Well, I watched The Flash, and I want to know what cut of the movie James Gunn watched, because it can't be the same thing that I watched in the theater, because that is nowhere close to one of the greatest DC movies of all time, much less one of the best superhero movies of all time. I gotta get a hold of this cut. I gotta see what I'm missing, because that's not it. The Flash is an absolute mess. Full of horrible CGI, bad character and story choices, flat and over-the-top goofy jokes. And really, walking out of that theater, it just made me thankful that we are getting a reset with DC films. What's up, guys? My name's Jackson George. Thanks for stopping by. Just a quick heads up, if you for some reason haven't seen all the clips leaked on TikTok, or apparently the full movie leaked on Twitter, there will be spoilers in this video. We're talking pretty much everything that happens in this movie. So if you want to remain spoiler free, go ahead, click away, go watch the film, and then come back and watch. But if you've seen it or just don't care, let's dive into it. The movie begins with everyone's favorite Flash picking up some breakfast when he gets a call from Alfred telling him to scurry over to Gotham City to help Batman stop some criminals. The Flash zooms over and goes to save people in a hospital collapsing, while Batman stops the thugs from getting away with a deadly disease thingy. I don't really know what was in it. Maybe they said it. I don't think so. But while Barry is evacuating the hospital, his calorie counter alerts him that he is low on energy and he's got to refill. Otherwise, he'll not be able to run as fast as he can. So, in a sequence that takes just way too long in slow-mo. I mean, I thought Zack Snyder directed this part of the film, because it's just, this entire scene is just slow-mo. It's so much slow-mo. Anyway, in this long sequence, the Flash saves a group of falling babies and a nurse, all while eating snacks out of a falling vending machine. The calorie counter is a cool concept, right? Like, it gives the Flash a weakness, something he has to keep in mind while he's fighting. Kind of like characters having to keep track of ammo when going into a gunfight. And with it being in the beginning of the movie, we're obviously going to see it throughout the rest of the film, right? It's going to be a big factor. Well, forget about it. Purge it from your mind. Forget it happened in this movie, because the film certainly does. It's never mentioned again. I think they make one joke about how hungry the Flash gets later in the movie, but that's it. It doesn't factor in at all, so forget about it. Forget it. Anywho, we switch back over to Batfleck as he's for some reason kind of struggling to stop these thugs. He manages to stop their vehicle and it falls off a bridge. However, the man carrying the disease falls off as well, which is bad, because if this disease thingy gets in the river, it will kill a lot of people. So Batfleck jumps down to catch the guy, but can't seem to pull him up. Lucky for him, Wonder Woman makes her annual cameo at this moment and swoops in and saves them. As much as this cameo seems really weird and goofy to me, I enjoy what it means. I enjoyed that it showed that the members of the Justice League do show up to other events that are not in their own movie. It's something I feel like Marvel has struggled with, justification for why certain members don't show up in other films during other battles. And I like that a big hero like Wonder Woman is showing up to certain things. Now, do I think it's weird that it's just Wonder Woman showing up in all these movies? Yes. But I like what it implies. Do I wish the threat was bigger? Do I wish that an actual villain that we know of was the threat here in this scene? Yeah. But the concept's cool. I just don't think they nailed the execution. Anyway, after all of this, we see Barry preparing to go to court for his father's hearing for the murder of his wife. Before all of this, Barry goes to his childhood house and relives the day his mom died. He gets so sad that he runs away, so fast in fact, that he travels back in time. Realizing that he can go back in time now to prevent the death of his mother, he goes to Batfleck to ask for his advice. Batfleck is wisely against all of this, but after a quick talk with Iris, Barry's like, screw this. I'm gonna do it. I want my mom back. So he travels back in time, puts 1 can of tomatoes in his mother's shopping cart, and changes the timeline. But while traveling back to his present time, another speedster knocks him out of the Speed Force and into the past to the day he got his powers. He then has to help his past self get powers in order to maintain a timeline that he's already changed. Young Barry then gets the powers of the Flash, but old Barry loses them in the process. And while trying to teach young Barry how to flash, Zod invades Earth in search of a Kryptonian. Old Barry's then like, heck, let's gather the Justice League. Let's assemble the team. But they don't exist in this timeline. Pooey. However, good old Batman does. So they scurry on over to Wayne Manor and find out that the Batman in this universe is Michael Keaton. He's retired after all the crime in Gotham has stopped, which I don't think is realistic in any timeline. But he says he won't help the Flashes. But lucky for the Flashes, about 2 movie minutes later, he's like, screw it, I'll do it. So they go to Siberia to free Superman, who is trapped there. They succeed, but plot twist, it's actually Supergirl, not Superman. They free her and try to get her to help them fight Zod, but she also refuses to fight Zod until she makes eye contact with Zod and is like, oh wait, he's bad. Yeah, I'll help. Old Barry gets his power back by getting struck by lightning and touching fingers with young Barry, and the gang goes to fight Zod, where they get their butts absolutely whooped by Zod. In fact, Batman and Supergirl both die, which after seeing this, young Barry's like, this can't be how this happens, right? So he zooms off into the Speed Force back in time to try this battle again. It ends the same way. They do this about 2 more times. Batman and Supergirl die each and every single time. They go back into the Speed Force, young Barry adamant that they can change the outcome. When all of a sudden, the speedster that kicked old Barry out of the Speed Force shows up, and it is revealed that it is the older young Barry that has been trying to change the result of the battle all this time. Older young Barry kicked out old Barry to make sure young Barry got his powers so that older young Barry still exists. Hold on, did I get that right? Older young Barry kicked old Barry out of the Speed Force to make sure older Barry helped younger Barry get his powers so that older younger Barry could still exist. Yeah, I think that's right. Young Barry sees his future self and the destruction that his time traveling is causing on the multiverse and sacrifices himself to save old Barry from older young Barry, thus causing older young Barry to cease to exist. Old Barry comes to the conclusion that his mom has to die and runs back in time and puts the tomato can back. We then jump to the present where everything is seemingly back to normal. Barry's dad wins his case, but it turns out it's only because Barry changed the location of the tomato cans. This movement of more tomato cans means that changes occurred, which we see when Batman is revealed to be George Clooney. The end. That's it. No more. Bye. Credits. Roll. Drunk Aquaman. That's it. After seeing the direction that they were going to go with the DCEU, I am really glad that it is ending. I will say this, majority of my thoughts about this movie are negative, but there were a couple things I did like. Michael Keaton as Batman is one of the highlights of the film. Now, disclaimer here, I've never actually seen the Batman movies he's in, so I'm sure I didn't get the full experience that others who have seen it got. But I still thought his performance was good, although the script doesn't give him a lot to do here. I feel like he was supposed to be a parental mentor figure to Barry. They don't really give him enough moments for that to happen, which is kind of a shame because I think it could have worked. I enjoyed his version of the character, although I do think his introduction was pretty anticlimactic. Another thing I really enjoyed was the color of the film, the look of the film. Now, I'm not talking about the CGI. We'll get to that in a moment. But the actual shots, the way the film looked, the tone within the colors and the shots, I liked that part. I think it was done very well. It was visually pleasing to look at. That's about it on the positive side. There are two glaring major issues in the film, and that is Ezra Miller and the CGI. Ezra's just not Barry Allen. His performance in Zack Snyder's Justice League was alright, but I was never on board with it, and that's emphasized in this movie. I'm not even talking anything off screen. It's just Ezra is not the Flash. His performance just isn't great, and he's often the worst part in every scene. The character's humor is just bad throughout the film, and Miller's delivery just really doesn't help at all. And if the Flash wasn't an annoying enough character, they had to introduce another version of him, which is more annoying and less funny than the previous version we had. Having two Barrys was a really odd choice for this film, and I don't think it works. I think it could have, but it doesn't here. And then there's the CGI. Oh man, it was bad. There were a lot of times in the movie where I thought I was watching The Flash show on the CW. That was the level of CGI here. It was that bad. It was CW level bad. And don't even get me started on the CGI cameos. I don't know whose idea that was, but that did not work at all. I don't know how a multi-million-dollar movie had this bad effects. It's mind-blowing. I don't know how that happened. A couple other things. I had some concerns going into the movie with Supergirl, but I don't really have much to say about her here because she's barely in the movie. And when she does show up, she doesn't really do a lot. And I can't really speak to the actress's performance because we're not really able to see any of her skills here. The line she's given, the dialogue she's given is lifeless. She doesn't give her much opportunity to add any personality to the character. So I can't really say anything about her. It's a shame that such a cool character was introduced and treated this way. Also, bringing Zod back was an odd choice for a villain. And like Supergirl, doesn't really do much here. Isn't really given much. I think Amazon v Atlanteans would have been such a better conflict, like in the comics. But yeah, Zod just doesn't work. I think it could have. It just doesn't work in this way because Barry and Zod have almost no connection. And I think if you make Supergirl a more prominent character in the movie, then maybe it works. I don't know. I think it's a weird choice here. Also, not including the Reverse Flash in this movie is mind-blowing to me. I don't know how he's not in here. He's central to Barry's character and central to his mother's death. I don't know how you do Flashpoint. I don't know how you do an intro movie to The Flash without the Reverse Flash. It doesn't make sense to me. And what's even more mind-blowing to me is that he's not even really alluded to in this film. I was waiting for him in a post-credit scene. Now, reportedly, he was supposed to be, but I still don't get how you release this movie without him being in it. And to add to all of that, this movie is long. It's 2 hours and 24 minutes, and you feel every second of it. And again, I don't have a problem with long movies. And I think for a Flashpoint movie, you gotta make it long. But this one just doesn't do it well. And I think it in part has to do with the humor and very slow pacing. For a movie about a speedster, about a guy that runs fast, it moves really slow. Look, The Flash is really bad attempt to reviving an already dying franchise. As sad as I am to see certain parts of the DCEU, this film again makes me glad that we are getting a reset with James Gunn's DCU. This film, man, just wasn't worth the 9-year wait. Anyway, that's about all I have to say. Now it's your turn. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of The Flash. Do you agree? Do you not with my take? Let me know. But thank you all so much for stopping by and watching. I love you guys, and I hope you have an incredible day. But until next time, peace out, bro skillets.